Yo, 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 what is going on, everybody? Gabriel Santos here, and today we're going to talk about how to stop losing momentum and to maintain consistency. Okay, so I have a number of clients and people that have reached out to me about this. And to be frank, maintaining consistency, discipline, whatever you want to call it, can be very challenging, especially for some of those bigger items, right? Like eating healthy or waking up early, or momentum in big projects, right? And it seems to be that the more long term the goal is, the more difficult it can be to maintain such consistency. Okay, so today's video is to give you some insight and perspective as to what has worked for me, and hopefully empower you to make whatever shift you're looking for in your journey. Okay, so I'm gonna start with saying what one thing that really worked for me is to really step out of perfectionism, right? And what I noticed is that I was trying to fill a void of unworthiness or a void of not feeling enough through action and routine, right? It's like, oh my God, I feel so shitty for not having routine or for being out of shape or not being enough in general. And my way of trying to fix that feeling is to be someone who's always on track, be someone who always wakes up early, is always journaling, is always on top of his self. And the issue is that my emotional state and my sense of self is too attached to how my day is going, right? And so I'm only feeling happy and secure with myself if I'm always on top of my routines. And so a shift that really worked for me, instead of going for perfectionism, it's doing the best I can and making room for flexibility, making room for being lazy, right? Allowing myself to not always have to be on it. And in fact, understanding that taking time away from being on, right, and taking the time to be still, I started to really see those as also productive ways of going about my day and my life, right? Another perspective shift I took was just a different way to react to when I don't have an on, like when my day isn't going as well, right? So for example, okay, let's say my intention is to wake up at 6 a.m. and get XYZ things done, right? You could say it's going on a walk, drinking water, meditation, whatever. XYZ things done. A really powerful shift I made is to obviously do my best to get those things done. But if I don't get those things done, instead of going straight to blame and judgment and guilt and oh no, 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 right? I try my best to come from a place of neutrality, and at the very least ownership, right? Like, okay, I didn't get up at 6. Oops, right? And I'm the one who made that decision. And then in the post-game analysis, if you will, I take a look at, okay, what caused me to not get up and do the things I said I'd do? Okay, maybe I went to sleep too late. Maybe I didn't have an effective alarm system. Or maybe I just didn't go into it with the intention of really getting this done, right? And so something you may want to look at is take a look at how determined were you really to get up and do the things you were going to do, okay? And so in addition to that, right, kind of relatable to that, or related to that, is I stopped putting things on my to-do list if I wasn't clear I was going to do them, right? Like, let's say I wanted to wash my car, right? Let's say day one, I put it on the list, doesn't get done. Okay, no big deal, didn't get done. Put it on the list day 2, still didn't get done. Okay. Now it's getting to the point where I have to acknowledge that I'm the one delaying this, and I have to ask myself, okay, am I gonna get it done or not? And if I'm not, I take it off the list. And if I am, I make it a priority. Okay, now we're gonna get to the priority stuff. Okay, so it is so easy, and I think many of you can relate. It is so easy to do everything else except the thing, right? You have, let's say you have homework to do, let's say you have work to do, let's say you have a chore to do. You find yourself doing every other thing except that actual chore, that actual task that you put on the list. Okay, what's that about? I don't know the answer per se. I have my own answers. In fact, why don't I pose you the question, what is that really about for you? What is avoiding it and not doing it and procrastinating really about for you? And I encourage you to drop out of your head, drop outside of the correct answer or the popular answer, and tap into your body and see, first of all, see where you might feel some resistance in your body, maybe like a sensation in your body when I ask you this question. What is it about avoiding? What is it about avoiding, right? And if I tap in for myself, what I find is, you know, and it's funny the type of stuff that comes up, guys, you know, things like, oh, I don't want to fail. And ironically enough, sometimes it's like, I don't want to succeed. Because what happens sometimes is if we have built a habit of procrastination, if we built the habit of saying, oh, I'm going to do this, right, for a month, and then 2 weeks go by and you always stop, fail, and go backwards, we create this identity called I don't get things done and I don't follow through. And we create this emotional home for ourselves centered around failure, inability, never crossing the finish line. And then we start to know ourselves and feel within ourselves that we are someone that doesn't cross the finish line. And so what's ironic about that is, what you may notice is, if you have a story called I don't cross the finish line no matter what I do, right? I'm unable to cross the finish line. You're gonna be right there at the finish line. It is in sight, the momentum is rolling, but somehow or another, right, we'll find a way to realign with this identity called I'm unable to cross the finish line. And what that might look like is a sensation in our body called resistance, fear, concern, or some type of story. Sorry if you guys can hear my car rumbling. Some type of story centered around it's too hard, it's too much, and I don't want to do it, and I'll do it tomorrow, right? And it's important in your journey of learning how to not lose momentum and maintain consistency is to start noticing where you take yourself out of the game, right? And what it often looks like is some type of emotion called like dread or some type of resistance, overwhelm, right? So it's important to identify like, oh, this is what I do. This is what I do. And it's important for us, and this is what has worked for me, is to create, you know, systems or strategies to deal with that emotion and move forward. Okay, so what that might look like is, you know, if the overwhelm is really big, you might need to, like, you know, do something to change your state. You might need to play video games for a second. You might need to eat, you know, some snacks, go on a walk, whatever. But at some point or another, right, and this is a critical habit or a critical muscle to build right here, is the ability to stop engaging with the feelings of laziness and to stop engaging with the feelings of complacency and to just cut that off and go, right? And another thing to look at, I'm gonna go ahead and, I don't want to turn off the car, god dang. Sorry guys, you just have to bear with this buzzing. Hopefully it's not unbearable. Another thing you might want to look at is how human beings, we have this desire to be right. And why this is important to this topic is we'll convince ourselves that it's too hard, it's too much, it's going to hurt. And our brains are so powerful, our minds are so powerful that we make whatever we say true. But what's ironic is if you allow yourself to change your perspective, right? Say, first of all, call yourself on the head, right? It's like, oh, I'm the one creating this this perspective called it's too hard, it's too much, I don't know how to do it. Because the payoff is you don't have to take responsibility for the outcome, right? Because to take responsibility is to look yourself in the mirror and say, oh shit, it didn't get done because I didn't do it. All right, but on the flip side of that is it will get done by you doing it. And so instead you can create a perspective called, oh, it's easy, oh, it is possible, oh, and then just start to call yourself on the head, right? Like, oh, I'm just being lazy, I'm engaging with laziness, I'm engaging with I don't want to do it, right? I'm engaging with it's too much, I can't handle it, right? So start to notice yourself reacting to this and allowing these narratives to take hold of you. And so the way you maintain consistency is to really become aware of all these different ways that we get in the way of ourselves, and to then develop the habit of cutting that out and just going, at the very least, right? Cutting that out and just going, because you can complain, bitch, moan, right? And if you stay in that place, we both know it's not going to get done. And remember, that can be your way of excusing yourself of not taking responsibility. If you're not going to do it, then just say it. I'm not going to do it. You don't have to play all these games. But if you do want to do it, and you're trying to figure out a way how to get past your own self, it really starts with you really taking control of these narratives, this I don't want to do it, this laziness, it's too hard, and kind of like bitch slapping that and getting up and going. And you can't wait for momentum, you can't wait for discipline, you can't wait for inspiration or motivation. At that point, you actually have to create it for yourself. And this is where empowerment really lives, where you don't have to wait for a feeling to take over you. If anything, you find a way to create that feeling. And instead of reacting from the outside in, right, you generate the energy that you're looking for. And it really is as simple as that, right? You get up off the couch to go do your walk because you get up off the couch to go do your walk. There is no secret about that. And like I've been saying this whole time, it really begins with stepping outside of whatever poo-poo chatter we're engaging with, whatever poo-poo chatter, right? And remember, we engage with this type of talk because we don't want to rise up and take accountability. And it's funny, on a deeper level, subconscious level, we're scared to change. We're scared to be someone who's responsible. We're scared to, who am I if I'm not a procrastinator? All I know is being lazy. All I know is not doing. All I know is wanting results but not having them. And so the way that you solidify yourself as someone who's an action taker is you start to notice all the ways that you take yourself out of the action, and you, at least in the very beginning, consciously step outside of that and take the action. And you basically train yourself to do this until you get to a point where, like, oh, taking action is who I am. Taking that action is normal. Taking action is what I love. Taking action equals happiness, right? And then you associate action taking with pleasure instead of procrastination with pleasure, right? You're basically, you're flipping the script, right? And the fun part is all the stuff you like to avoid responsibility through, right? Video games, eating, whatever, right? Social media, that stuff is still available to you after the stuff is done. And so, by and large, what I encourage everyone to do is to figure out your blueprint for action taking and take a look at where you're trying to be a perfectionist. Take a look where you are too attached to action taking. And then by and large, take note of where you start to take yourself out of the game and take responsibility for moving forward. And instead of waiting for motivation to take over you, Create energy and action for yourself by bitch slapping the complainer, bitch slapping the I don't want to do it, right? Reeling it all in, taking control of that, and just go. All right, so that's it for today. Hopefully this video found you well. Please leave down in the comments below your blueprints for taking action, some insights you got from this video, as well as some topics you want to hear from me moving forward. All right, that's it for today. I love you all. I appreciate you all. And as always, wherever you are is where you're meant to be. All right, see you on the next video. Peace.